Hi friends, it's time for me to show you the body of light. Body of light allows you to connect auroric type signals with external light objects such as laser or other objects that receive ILDA or DMX signal. If we turn around the module, we can see that the ILDA output is placed on separate unit. That allows flexibility in the configuration setup. As well, we have DMX output for future DMX expansion, boot and reset knobs for software installation, USB input for the same reason, and power plug to power up the module from your auroric unit. Let's connect it to the case. Of course, follow the -12 volts red line rule. Here we installed the module into the system. Let's power it up and see the action. Once the system is on, we have to switch the brightness to see the LED lit. Our laser is prepared to action and currently is switched off. Make sure that the switch on-off button and set on-off, as well as security key, is also off. ILDA input cord is connected. Let's connect ILDA cord to the ILDA output of the module. First, turn the laser on. Turn the security key on. The connection is set. We installed extra security switch that it has to be turned on. Now the connection is set. First send sine wave to the x-axis. Turn the brightness on and scale it up. The laser will show you the x-axis. Use the LFO output for the y-axis. The laser will start to move up and down relatively to the rate of the LFO. Adjust the position of X and Y axis to your liking. We played with the waveform, the rate of the VCO on the X-axis and the range, the rate and the waveform of the LFO on the Y-axis until we created a circle. Our circle spins. Body of light has the inputs bay that allow us to access different parameters of the light body. Of course, we already discovered X and Y axis parameters. We also have access to intensity of the red color, green, blue, overall intensity, and shooter. Shooter is a form of stroboscope if your laser allows you to have that.
On panel we see the saturation, the scale of the light object, the brightness of it, X and Y positions, knobs and hue. Next we have two attenuators for X and Y modulation axis. Whenever you feed here anything or here, you will allow yourself to synchronize your light with the audio signal or feed any control voltage you want relatively to these parameters. In that case, whenever you feed here something, you have to open the attenuator here and here. And we have three attenuverters. One of them is targeting saturation over here. On the way to saturation, we have an extra input that makes these two parameters to sum up. Of course, we need to move the switch to the plus or minus position to allow the saturation to modulate. Then we have hue in the same way of modulating. We can feed the CV signal here plus any other signal over here, and we need to attenuate the incoming CV signal to address the hue. And same goes for brightness, so we can feed the CV signal here sum it up with any other signal here, and attenuate, and that would be addressed to the brightness. Advice here is not to set these parameters very high whenever you feed the control voltage here. Set them a bit lower, set the brightness lower, set the saturation lower, and the hue lower. And once you're feeding the signals over here, over here, over here, those parameters will give you the gradation of light. That creates very dynamic, very color-ranged, very deep type of light objects. Trigger output from here will be sent to brightness over here.
That allows us to create occasional brightness bursts.
Let's connect LFO output with blue input.
The result on the output we have as follows.
Next, I'm going to take the trigger output and feed it to the modulation X input.
You see the movement on the x-axis relatively to the trigger input.
Let's take the saw output and feed it to the modulation Y axis.
You see the modulation on the y-axis relatively to the sawtooth waveform rate. If I adjust the rate of the incoming signal, you see the modulation of the y-axis. Increasing the rate changes the light object. Opening the attenuator increases the modulation. Maximum modulation mode on both x and y axes.
Sending the square output to the red color intensity input.
Now we see the increase of the red color.
Next, I'm going to change different parameters, play with different waveforms so you can see the dynamic changes in the light object.
Alternatively, you can control X and Y axis with the unit like toolbooks from 1010 Music. Here is a bank of images. To send them to the laser, simply take input 3 to X axis and 4 to Y axis. First you will see the result, and later you can feed different CV inputs on our module to change the variables. Of course, it's myriads of different combinations of CV signals versus the light versus your audio. So I hope you will have a lot of fun with your body of light. Here I try to show as much as I could, at least the basics, and yeah, stay in touch.